Well, hello again. Welcome again to another podcast, Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded, and I'm your host, Risch. Going to look at an article today, Why Now, by Steve Hulshizer. Why now? The question has come to my mind many times in recent years. I have looked back over the life of my Christian parents and the time in which they lived. And the question comes back again and again, why now? After all, they lived through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and raised a family of 5 boys. During the 45 to 40, 50, and 60, my father died when he was still a teenager, and he was forced to leave school. My father's father died when he was still a teenager and was forced to leave school and seek employment, which he found in Bethlehem Steel after waiting in line a number of times. He was employed there a few months, short of 50 years. I can remember my father working 6 days a week in the office and charged to the 5-day work week. I can remember buying margarine packs with the color dot in the middle that had to be broken and worked into the margarine to make yellow. I remember that too. I can remember these little red tokens that you needed to buy meat during the war years. There were not easy days to raise a family, and children were just as much children then as today. My parents' sons were not perfect, the writer being one of these great concerns. They were many problems to straighten out and discipline to be administered. Now, despite the way of the Great Depression and the pressures of raising a family, I do not remember anything about philosophy. Certainly philosophy was a word as Freud and others like him had set forth their idea on what makes man act the way he does, with no thought of sin, of course. The assembly was simply then godly brothers and sisters came together frequently to worship, pray, minister the Word of God, and Bible study. There was no little league baseball teams then, no soccer teams or gymnastics, lessons being taken by children. We had our activities, but very few interfered with the assembly schedule. Friday night Bible studies were held for young people in their homes, and then they were out for a bit to eat after the study. Now, despite this simplicity, the human heart was no different then than now, and that was the problem. However, I cannot remember the saints turning outside the Word of God for their guidance. This, of course, raises the question, why now? We live in an advanced age. Technology has blossomed among everyone. Drives an air-conditioned car with an AM/FM radio and a tape or CD player. It's gone a lot further than that in our day. Computers with more power than a corporation had several decades ago are in many homes. Well, many are connected to the internet and email, microwave ovens, giving us instant food. Cars traveling at 65 miles an hour on the interstate highways, and a lot faster today, to span the country and satellites enable us to see events that happen around the world. This world has its advancements in the spiritual realm as well. The New Age movement, the step beyond secular humanism and movement sees men's next advancement being of a spiritual nature, that of realizing his own deity. And when man comes to this higher level of consciousness, the New Age will be introduced on earth. It is, of course, no more than Satan's counterfeit millennium. Of course, Christendom is not without its advancements as well. It too has advanced in recent decades. Such things as miracles, healings, and tongues have taken the spiritual experience to a higher level. Mega churches have arisen with their professional oratorials and computerized lighting and audio-visual systems. And then there is the advancement of philosophy. The combining of the best men's thinking and the Word of God to create the ideal solutions for many problems and advanced age experiences. Should all this surprise us? Not really. The Word of God has very accurately described it for us when Paul wrote to Timothy concerning the condition of the last days, preaching the Word. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrines, but after their own lust they shall heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned into fables. 2 Timothy 2, verses 2 to 4. Man's philosophy is to entrench. The many Christians have become blind to the original and even think of it as biblical. To even question it validation causes their teeth to grind and the pulse to increase. Sadly, the loyalty of some of the Christian philosophers may exceed their loyalty to the Word of God, as evident by the fact that they will spend far more time reading his latest books than they will reading the Bible. Then many even defend his thinking more than they would defend the Bible doctrine. Why now? Because the church, in what is seen as the advancement, has gotten away from the simplicity that marked the early church, and away from the Word of God as the sole guide for the living. It has been persuaded often that well-meaning and educated men that this advanced day requires advanced thinking. Can we advance beyond the Word of God? The Word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Psalms 119, 105. Why now? Perhaps because the Lord's return is near. Why now? Perhaps because the Lord's return is near. Revelation 3:17. And now, why now? Perhaps because we have lost confidence in the Word of God. 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. Why now? Perhaps because we are more impressed by man's philosophy than we are in the preaching of the Word. 2 Timothy 2, verses 2 through 4. Why now? Perhaps because we prefer to be entertained than convicted. 1 Corinthians 2, 1 through 5. Regardless of the reason, there must be a renewed emphasis placed upon the preaching of the word in our local churches today.